Welcome everyone. My name is Shalini Gaud, Technical Consultant at Serity GmbH. In this video, I'll be focusing on one of the Servicenow GRC application, that is risk management. Servicenow GRC has four core applications: policy and compliance management, risk management, vendor risk management, and audit management. Now, let us focus on risk management. Before getting into the demo, let us understand what is risk management. Risk management application enables organization to identify, respond, and continuously monitor high impact risk. Let us get familiar with few key terminologies. Risk framework. Risk framework is used to categorize the risk. For example, risk related to security or environmental can be grouped into one risk framework. Risk statement. You can start identifying the risk your organization is facing and store them as risk statement. Risk assessment evaluates the risk and minimize the level of risk by adding control measures. Now let us see the demo of risk management lifecycle. I have been impersonated as risk manager. In later on process, I will be impersonating with different roles. ServiceNow provides dashboard overview to the applications. Now let us check the risk overview dashboard. Here under risk, you can see the overview. Go to this overview. This provides risk overview dashboard. Here you can see two types of reports. One is inherent risk report and residual risk reports. Inherent risk report gives the overview of the total number of inherent risks that your organization is facing. For example, in this organization, there are 19 very high inherent risk and 37 high inherent risk. You can also see inherent risk heat map. Heat map provides total number of risk according to the impact and likelihood. Here you can also see the risks are categorized by category. Coming to residual risk, the residual risk report also provides total number of residual risks that the organization is facing. For example, in this organization, there are 13 very high residual risk and 23 high residual risk. Now, you can also see here residual risk heat map and also risk by category. Now, let us go to risk framework and risk statement. So risk frameworks and risk statements you can find under risk library. Risk frameworks and risk statements are created by risk manager role. So now let us get into risk framework. Here I have already created one of the risk framework called business service loss events. So let us get into this record. Here in the related list, you can see risk statements. So you have two ways to create the risk statements. Either you can create new risk statement by clicking new button and fill the data. Or you can also add the existing risk statements to the risk framework by clicking edit button. Here I have already selected these three risk statements which were already created. Now let us go to risk register. Under risk register, you can see you can create a new risk record. You can see my risk, all risk, my assessments and all assessments. Now let us go to all risk. Here you can see this is the risk layout, list layout where you can find all the risk. So now let us create a new risk report. So click on new and here you can see this is the life cycle of risk record. Let me create a risk record called loss of data. And now I will select one of the risk statement which we have already been created. Loss of availability. So once you select the risk statement, the category and assessment are being pre-filled. Now we need to select the entity for which this risk has been occurred. Let me select ACME Americas. So once you select the entity, you need to select the assessment respondents. So now let me select one of the assessment respondent, that is risk user, who is responsible to take the assessment. And now I will save this record. Once you save this record, you can see here the owner has been pre-filled. This is because once you select the entity, this entity owner is Brant. So that you can see in this preview. So for this entity is the owner is Brant. So now let me click Assess button to move to the next state. Once you click Assess button, you can see here created one assessment. Now the risk user is ready to take the assessment. So let me impersonate as risk user and take the assessment. Now let me go to my assessment. Under risk, my assessments, and you can see here the assessment is ready to take. Let me get into this record and take the assessment. Here you have two kinds of questionnaires. One is based on inherent risk and the other one is based on residual risk. Now let me answer the questions under inherent risk. That is, consider the impact and likelihood of this risk event, assuming that no controls or mitigating actions are in place or operating effectively. So let me answer inherent risk questionnaires. And here you can see what is the expected frequency of this risk event. So I will select once per year. Now coming to residual risk, which considers the impact and likelihood of this risk event, assuming that all mitigating actions are operating effectively. Let me answer the residual risk questionnaires and select even this event occurs once per year and submit the assessment. Now you get the message as you have completed this risk assessment. Once completing this risk assessment, now the risk manager is responsible to review the assessment. So now let us impersonate as risk manager and go to our risk record, that is loss of data. Now you can see before it was in assess state and now it has been moved to respond state. Coming to the related list, here under assessment you can see view response. You can click here view response to view the response that has been given by risk user. So once viewing this response, you can either return this record to draft or you can answer the response. Coming to the scoring tab, in Servicenow there are two types of scoring methodologies. One is qualitative methodology and the other one is quantitative methodology. By default, system uses quantitative methodology. Coming to response, Servicenow provides four types of risk response. One is accept, that means you can accept and acknowledge the risk, and the other one is avoid, you can eliminate the risk, and the next one is mitigate, you can reduce the impact or probability of the risk, and the last one is transfer, you can transfer the risk to the third party. So now let me select mitigate as my response. Now I will save this record. Once you save this record, you can see here you have a message as risk response task is created. So now the risk response task is created. The owner is responsible to take this risk response task. So now let me impersonate as Brant. So now let me go to risk response task. Here under risk response task, my open risk response task. So here you can see there is a record created. Now let me get into this record. Initially, the risk mitigation record is in draft state. So now you can click work in progress to work further on this record. You can work on this record by giving additional comments. Once you are done working on this record, you can request for review. So now I will request for review. Now the risk manager is responsible to review the risk response task. So now let me impersonate as risk manager to review the risk response task. Let me go to the risk response task and go to all, and now you can click as show matching review because it is in the review state and the owner was brand, so this is our record. Let me get into this record and review the risk response task. Once reviewing this record, you can either set this record back to draft or you can close the record. Until unless you close the record, you cannot move the risk report to the next state. So now I'll be closing this response task. After closing this risk response task, I will go to my risk record, that is loss of data. Now you can see before it was in response state and now it has been moved to review state. Once reviewing, you can either return this record to draft or you can move to monitor state. So now I will click monitor and now it has been moved from review state to monitor state. Once the record is in monitor state, manager can continuously monitor this risk record. I hope you have understood the risk management life cycle. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comment box. Thank you for watching. You can find more videos in our YouTube channel. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions or need consultation. Thank you.